equation?
Y minus 0.
Y equals 2 times x plus 6.
Now, if you didn't like, Lynn was saying just y equals, that's fine too. Both of those are fine. Okay, so for the next one, we want to draw a tangent line at -4.
Tangent line.
So through this point right here.
Oh, how's this? Oh,
Is it? We can touch other tangent lines, right?
No. Oh,
Yes.
These lines are like.
And we can touch the other part of the graph. We're just looking at this upside down parabola.
What? How can we touch the other point?
Well, because the line goes on forever, it would eventually touch it.
Well, mine is touching it.
How'd you draw your line?
Like that.
Like this.
It should be,
Why? Why? That is not touching another point. The whole point of this was touch.
How
well,
can we draw these?
if it's slanted, it's going to touch it at another point. It's going to touch along here or along here.
How do we know how to draw these?
Well, because it's supposed to be a tangent line. And because if it's at the very top, it's just straight across. Or if it was at the very bottom, it would just be a line that goes straight across.
Oh, I get. And then those to the right of it would be going like this.
Yep.
Okay.
Did you draw this graph?
And then that bottom one goes like this.
No, I never looked at you.
You drew
I'm
this
starting
graph.
to get it.
Good.
I'm not.
So, it's okay. We got plenty more. So, f prime of -4 is what?
0.
0. Slope of that line, 0.
There ain't one.
Max.
It's fine.
There you go. It is not increasing or decreasing there.
He's just chilling.
It is at the maximum. Notice it's called a relative maximum because it's not really the highest point ever.
For that word.
Right, and we just call it, and even if it was the highest point ever, a lot of times we still just refer to it as a relative max until we start talking about absolutes.
Fun.
I know, right? Okay, what's pot?
-4, 2.
Slot?
0. Y minus 2 is equal to 0 times x plus 4.
See what I mean? You do it so much, it's like this
Well,
is.
that part's easy, but I don't get the drawing of the tangent line.
That's okay. You will never have to draw them after today.
Oh.
We're simply drawing them to make a connection. That
Can
is all.
we just put y equals 2?
Wait, where are you putting
Yes.
y equals 2?
Because this whole
Oh.
thing would cancel out. But you don't have to.
I
And
still
if
don't
you
think
accidentally
it's
made a
0.
mistake,
So we have to write that all out for the test?
have to, this all right? No. You can simplify it.
Okay.
But if you simplify it and you're wrong, I'm counting off. If you don't simplify it, then you're right. So why simplify it?
Why do the extra work?
Huh?
So why do the extra work?
Exactly.
Right here, the queen of dots doing the work, and now you do the extra work.
All right.
I think you get.
So this next point, when I draw on a tangent line, I'm assuming we're at -2. Yeah. So when I draw on this tangent line here, I did not do it very well.
Can it go through like that bottom part?
I don't know because it's
I'm
gone.
at -2.
It can cross my tangent line, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
That's why I've been trying to draw it like weird. That was my best tangent line yet.
Wait, you went through the.
That also was
Yeah.
my best tangent line. It went straight to the middle of the point. Of wood.
But that's going through that line.
True. But I'm doing these in sections.
So you're forgetting it.
And so I'm just doing tangent lines for this upside down parabola.
Yeah, but the point next to it, you're touching it.
This one?
Yeah.
That's just because that's a really thick point.
This is
Not really.
She's not even touching it. She's around it.
No. It's like you're not supposed to touch multiple points. It's okay if you touch them over there.
Yeah, I thought we weren't supposed to touch points.
We're not supposed to touch points in and around that point. So like
in that quadrant.
yeah, well, not necessarily quadrant.
But like that section of quadrant.
In that
So
section.
you were just kidding when you said we couldn't touch books.
I wasn't kidding.
Like, what she's doing is she split the graph in half.
Kinda, yeah.
One,
And-
Dadgummit.
And so, as long as she didn't touch those tangent lines on that half of the graph, didn't touch that point, she was fine with it. Because there's so many points you're gonna have to touch.
Yeah, there's no way you can do it. So what you do is you look at part of the graph at a time. So I'm looking at this upside down parabola right now. And
Okay,
so,
judgy for what?
For fun.
is that cool? So what'd you get for the slope of that one?
I don't know, let's see what these things mean.
1,
Close.
2, 1.5.
No. It's 1, negative 1. Why is it? Yeah.
It's going down.
It's going down, yeah.
I
So,
guess.
F prime of negative 2 is approximately negative 1.
It's decreasing.
This graph is decreasing. And so we'll do another pot and sot. What's pot?
Negative 2, 1.
Sot?
Negative 1.
I don't know why I put parentheses there, sorry.
Y minus 1 is equal to negative 1 times x plus 2.
Let me tell you something. She's doing this before we even get there.
Yeah.
That's why she's getting it.
So are you feeling better about the tangent lines? And
Yeah, I just didn't know how to, I understood this part, but I just didn't get how to draw it.
okay. What I want you to do is I'm not going to do the rest of those because
If you do the next
no, they're all the same, and we're going to make a connection either way. I do believe.
You hope.
So look at
The back.
these. Yes, and we're going to be on this. We're going to fill this in a minute.
Okay, cool.
So can you make a connection between the estimation or the derivative and whether it's increasing, decreasing, or a relative max or min?
If it is increasing,
The line is going
the slope is smaller.
looks positive.
Then
Positive.
I didn't throw the sharp part.
And if it's decreasing, slope is negative. What do you suppose? If it's a max, what's the slope? 0. And we didn't get to a minimum, but I know if I did a minimum here,
Maybe 0.
it would be 0 as well. Cool, huh?
I was wrong.
So cool. So let's write these little rules down that we just figured out.
Let's put increasing positive, decreasing negative.
If f prime of a is greater than 0,
I swear I write more in here than I do in AP Lit.
No, you don't.
then the graph of f of x is increasing at x equals a. If f prime of a is less than 0, then the graph of f of x is decreasing at x equals a.
I'm so behind.
Is it f of negative 1 or f of 1? Like f1. I've been writing negative 1 this entire time.
I don't see any numbers here. What are you talking about?
What is that round?
F prime.
That's f prime. That's a little like an apostrophe.
I've been writing negative
Oh.
1 this
Yeah, it's not a 1. It's not an inverse.
Not imaginary.
It's a dash. It's a
Well, mine's
apostrophe.
negative dash.
Like when I graph it or when I type it up, I would use the apostrophe symbol.
Well, mine's a negative.
Well, know that it's apostrophe, so quit because negative means something else. Okay, so on 3 and 4, we need to go back and do a little bit more. We know that a relative maximum, the derivative is 0, right?
Yes.
Well, how can I tell the difference between if it's a relative max and a relative min? I
Where
can't-
the
with
Y is.
Say it again?
Where the Y is.
Okay, yes, true.
Um,
Sorry, using f primes.
Yeah.
So f prime zero,
Uh-huh.
and now look around it.